I had this dream that one day I'm going to have this perfect harmony between ass and sass to then form and morph into the optimal slippery sausage. Once again, we're back with another video, and again, we're going over the workouts and technique, I guess, of influencers, very popular on the old social media, you know, on the line, on the gram and all the bits and bobs. We're doing this because last time people liked it, so I figured, you know, probably do it again, maybe do it more often if people do actually like it. If you like the video, let me know you like the video by telling me you like the video. 120 likes down below and we'll make another one. Drop a comment, let me know what's going on. Also drop a comment if you have any like influencers or popular figures within the industry that you want me to do these kind of videos on. But without further ado, let's crack on with the video. And today we're going to look at Hanna Öberg, which is someone who I have covered a few times in videos before, and someone who as a whole I've been quite impressed by. So here we are, we're going to do it. So Hanna is a Gymshark athlete and a mum. She's a fitness influencer who focuses a lot on Instagram, her own fitness app, and YouTube from what I can tell. From what I'm gathering based on what I'm seeing is she seems to be one of the few influencers that really does hammer in on compound movements. Like granted, she does a lot of like fluff stuff, which is fair enough, like most people do. But from what I'm seeing, a lot of her workouts do seem to be quite compound movement dominant, which is obviously great to see. And it's obviously something I preach a lot, so I appreciate that, I appreciate you. But we're gonna slap it in, let's go. Annoyingly, my screen recorder is now recording this screen, which is bloody annoying. So I'm going to be dead dizzy. Basically going through a back workout. The only reason I want to go through this is because I want to see if we've got any compound row-based movements, which we do. Got bent over. I'm going to be honest with you. First of all, bent over row to deadlift, I'm interested because, yeah, okay, so she's supersetting barbell rows with deadlifting. Personally, her technique's great. Like, I really can't fault her technique, and also she's in phenomenal shape. But those aren't two movements I'd ever put back to back in the superset. Firstly, I don't think deadlifts really warrant being supersetted with anything because they're such a taxing movement. And secondly, with the barbell row as well, both really lower back intensive movements I don't think should be paired together. Pull-ups, another great movement that I love, but although I would say if you do them too often, me personally, I find they can cause a bit of tendonitis, a little bit of niggling in the forearms, which isn't ideal. But her technique is bang on. Like, I really can't complain. Like, that's some pretty spicy techers. As you're probably gathering and as you're going to gather, this video is going to be primarily focusing around lower base movements and kind of posterior chain movements, i.e. back, because that's when we're going to incorporate most of the compound movements, being squat variations, deadlift and row variations. So I'm just really curious to see how someone with such a big platform is executing and suggesting others execute movements like this. No influencer workout would be complete without booty incorporation. So that's what we're doing now. And straight off the bat, we've got glute bridges. Again, something that I can't do very well because my ass is too small, but my sass is too large. See, I'm in that kind of like in between a rock and a hard place where the sass is so great, but the ass is not great. I had this dream that one day I'm gonna have this perfect harmony between ass and sass to then form and morph into the optimal slippery sausage. You'll get that reference if you've seen it a couple of videos back. We'll go with it anyway. It's not what you think it is. Glute bridges, blessed movement, big fan of this. Like, again, a compound movement, gonna shift some heavy weight. All I'm gonna say though, if you are gonna do glute bridges, granted she's probably only doing 60 kilos for the purpose of like demonstrations, but I put money on the fact she could lift a lot more than that. Like, don't piss around with doing like 40 kilo glute bridges if you have the capacity and strength to do like 100 kilos. Push the weight up, really go heavy. Progressive overload is going to be probably the most important principle to apply when it comes to making gains, be that strength or size-based gains. A reverse lunge. Again, big fan. The only thing I would say about this is doing it with the barbell, it can throw off your balance quite a bit. So if you have the balance to do this, then do it. Any lunge-based movement or split squat-based movement, first of all, brings in unilateral work, which is fantastic, as people do have the imbalances, but also absolutely hammers the body. Probably something I should do more often to then kind of get me to that harmony of ass to sass ratio, which we're trying to figure out. So this is now what she refers to as raw workout footage, being just, I guess, simple workout footage without any frills and fun stuff around it. And I'm interested by this because I know she's squatting in this video and we don't see a lot of that. So let's have a gander. So through all the movements I've seen thus far, I've been very impressed. Like, she lifts weight well, like really well. She executes the movements efficiently and effectively, and that's very impressive. She also has pretty sick tattoos, so I'll give her that. But I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed with the squat. Obviously the angles aren't favouring her at all, so you don't really know what's going on fully. but from what I'm seeing, depth isn't being hit, which is obviously a concern. And obviously I know there was initially a misconception that if you squat too low, it can cause problems, knee problems, all this stuff, which has obviously since been disproven. But there is actually research showing that if you cut reps short, it's like the whole braking mechanism of your essentially braking, i.e. cutting the rep short, not so much utilizing the muscles efficiently, but more so the joints. And this then can, not saying it will, but it can place greater strain on the joints in question, i.e. the knees in this case. One would then argue actually has a greater potential to cause injury. And on top of that, if you get really strong in a range of motion, let's say from 0 to 70% of the full ROM, you get really strong in that range. If you, for whatever reason, accidentally go a bit beyond it to, let's say, 80% because maybe you squat a bit lower than you would normally, you have not developed strength throughout this range, and the risk of injury is much greater because you don't have the capacity to power through with whatever weight you're using as you would in the 0 to 70% range, because you're in this kind of unknown and potentially weaker territory. Always utilize full range of motion if you can do so safely without any injuries or anything like that holding you back. Another thing is squatting in front of the mirror. I'm probably going to go on a bit about this, but I guess that's probably why you're watching this video. I don't really like squatting in front of the mirror. Although in some cases, yes, you can argue that it allows you to see what you're doing, I really think in the moment, focus on the squat and executing it how you feel is best. Look back at footage afterwards before the next set and make adjustments then. And for example, if you're training for powerlifting purposes, you're not going to be squatting in front of a mirror in competition. Stiff leg deadlift, again, probably my favorite and what I would deem to be one of the most effective hamstring or posterior chain movements. The thing I like about what she's doing here is her head positioning. When people kind of get the idea of a neutral spine, they primarily think and focus on your lower back. When in actual fact, you think about where the spine runs, tailbone to neck, a neutral spine also includes head positioning. So if you can see here, she's not trying to look up at the wall in front of her when she's going down. She is looking in the direction her spine... She is looking in the direction her spine wants her to look, which is basically following the rep down and looking down to the floor with it. That's what we like to see. That's good stuff, so I appreciate that. As I said earlier on, she could probably lift more than 60 kilos, and here she is lifting a lot more than 60 kilos, which is good to see. Like, I appreciate that she's posting content for demonstration, as well as to show people raw training footage in which she's actually lifting weights that she would deem to be challenging, which is great. She's getting decent range of motion, pausing at the top and getting good contraction. I really can't complain. It's good stuff. This is one of the few movements I would actually say adding a band to can benefit you, especially with the external rotation of the knees and the hips. Is I feel like if I were to do a glute bridge, because my glutes are a bit lazy, to be honest, like, hence why they're dead. Do you know what I mean? My sass is not lazy, my ass is very lazy. When I add a band in which forces my knees out, I do feel like my ass is sassing itself quite a lot more, which is fantastic. Look, for the final thing we're going to see here, this has triggered me. Initially, it triggered me because I see under booty workout pop up on the screen, and immediately, obviously, I'm pissed off. We've already covered the under booty before with Lauren Simpson. We're going to cover it now, but then I read the caption. She does say that we cannot spot reduce fat and the so-called under booty. I like the quotations, obviously implying that it's not necessarily the under booty. What she's referring to is the lower muscles of the glutes. She's not saying explicitly here, but I feel like it could be implied that you can isolate single areas of the bottom, being the under booty, which we know you can't. You focus on the glutes as a whole, but you can place greater emphasis on certain muscles doing different movements. I get she's trying to get clicks here, but I would have perhaps place a bit more emphasis on explaining what she really meant and maybe debunking some stuff in the caption more so than she already did. And it is just a simple collection of basically a stiff leg variation and some squat variations. Like you've got split squats, again she's doing front foot elevated, she's chucking in some box squat variations, she's chucking in some dumbbell stiff leg variations. Of all the influences I've seen, I think Hanna Öberg is probably one of the few I would actually recommend people follow because she executes most movements very well. She dishes out good information, although I would appreciate if she maybe did expand a little bit more, and she's in phenomenal shape. But again, as with all my videos, this is merely my opinion on her, my opinion on what I've seen, just what I've seen, not her as a collective. You may agree, you may disagree, but like I said, as a whole, I am very impressed by her. But it's nice to see people of her status push out decent information. If you like the video and want to see more videos like this, let me know. Drop a comment down below. Again, let me know who you want me to talk about and assess, maybe review, etc., or react to. Drop a like on the video. Again, 120 likes, I'll make another one. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already and tell your friends too, because your boy needs it. Regardless of whether you liked or disliked the video, I appreciate your time. So thank you for tolerating the video. Thank you for tolerating my sass, and thank you for tolerating my lack of ass.